One of the questions that loomed after the acquisition of Crunchyroll by Funimation and Sony was what's going to happen with their relationship with HIDIVE and Sentai Filmworks? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this bit of news, so let's jump into it. So it has officially been announced by HIDIVE that the streaming service will no longer be on the VRV platform come September 30th. They said that at that time, the channel will be removed from VRV, and anybody with current subscriptions will no longer be renewed through VRV, but they will also receive an email that will redirect them to HIDIVE to stream directly from their channel or their service. Meaning that you can still continue to get HIDIVE's content, you're just going to have to go directly to their actual website and stream it there. So thankfully, it doesn't really necessarily mean that you're losing HIDIVE's content, you're just going to have two apps or go to two different websites rather than just go to one actual location, which was kind of the nice thing about VRV was having Crunchyroll and HIDIVE content all on one app or one service. Even with the case of having Funimation on there would have been really nice. But I think this is a really telling sign to the future of VRV. Obviously, we're kind of questioning if VRV was part of the purchase early on, but we realized that yes, somewhere in the fine print, they had announced that yes, VRV was indeed part of the acquisition for Crunchyroll. But it really begs the question after this removal. What's the future of VRV? This is just purely my speculation, but I don't believe the VRV brand to last very long. I know that Sony has already kind of committed to essentially trying to combine all their platforms, Crunchyroll and Funimation, and I think VRV is going to be pretty much way low on the totem pole there, as you can look at certain traffic websites and see that VRV has a very minor fraction of traffic compared to Funimation, and just nothing in comparison to what Crunchyroll has. I think if anything, if you see a combination of anything under one brand, it would be on a Crunchyroll, which has probably the biggest namesake out of all of them. But even still, my future in the whole situation is I see that VRV is not going to last very long, if anything, through the year. Mainly because you don't really have many channels left on this platform. Crunchyroll is its biggest part. Rooster Teeth, maybe. And beyond that, Mondo and Cartoon Hangover. I mean, there's not really much left on that platform to really care about. I mean, at this point, it's basically Crunchyroll. The VRV is basically Crunchyroll at this point. So I see this brand really being shut down pretty quickly. I don't really necessarily see a reason why they would keep it up at this point, unless they hope to use it as a way of bridging both Funimation and Crunchyroll onto one platform until they finally get their ducks in a row in order to combine the two of them under one brand in the future. Which, as I said before, is probably going to be a Sony brand new app that will have all of Funimation, all of Crunchyroll, which again, unless they go the Netflix route and have a Netflix costly subscription, I don't see them rushing to anytime soon just because they're managing to get subscription costs from basically both platforms right now. They're getting double dipping right now. But still, I really do hope that this is not something that will affect HIDIVE in any way. I hope that their subscription doesn't take a huge hit from this, mainly from those that, yes, it's bad to say, but those that just let the subscription relapse, and the moment that they see an email about it, they're like, oh, I don't really need that anymore. They'll stop subscribing, but it's unfortunately a sign. And I hope that it's not a sign that there is ill will towards HIDIVE and that Sony can still technically play ball with HIDIVE in the future. Maybe when they do get a Sony brand to allow HIDIVE on it. But again, that goes in that element of how well does Sony play with competition versus just allowing them to come on there so that they have a bigger platform. Are they for the fans and allowing more content, or are they for fighting over competition? One last point I would like to make is my concern about the HIDIVE platform itself. And it was one of the things that kind of pushed me to use VRV instead of HIDIVE's app on specifically Apple TV, is this aspect that it seems like Crunchyroll and Sony and Funimation seem to have some kind of way of getting around the restrictions that are placed upon different platforms and their apps within their services. And it always seemed like HIDIVE just didn't really have those connections. And so a lot of content was being blocked on the app, rendering the app pretty useless, which doesn't really concern most people that are using maybe browsers or other services, but specifically on the Apple platform, it was always a rising concern for me that it didn't seem like HIDIVE themselves had those connections to just kind of get around those adult restrictions that all the other ones seem to somehow stuff some money in some pockets or something. That's just completely a joke. I'm not saying they do that. But time will tell. But that's the news. I hope you guys enjoyed my run through of it and my thoughts on the whole situation. If you did like this video, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the news. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. And support us on Patreon if you can. And y'all take care.